Have Arsenal regressed this season? Big conversation to be had. I think relative to expectations, a lot of people probably would say that Arsenal have looked worse this season compared to last year. Don't have the same sharpness, don't have the same creativity, relying a lot on set pieces, a lot on corners. Um, and if you told anyone at the start of the season that this year, if City are going to have a horrendous season and slip up and not win the league, who's your favorite to win the league? I think most people would have said Arsenal then. And that clearly seems like it's not the case, at least as things stand right now, 15 games into the season, because Liverpool are clear favorites to win it. They're currently 4 points ahead of Chelsea and 6 points ahead of Arsenal, with a game in hand on both teams. Obviously, clear of City as well. And that's been a question that's been spoken about a lot, or asked a lot, I should say, in the last couple of weeks. Why do Arsenal look worse? Why do Arsenal look worse than where they were last season? Why are Arsenal relying on corners more than ever this season and trying to only looking for corners to try and get wins? And I wanted to discuss that point because I don't agree with those claims. It's probably going to trigger people and they're like, loser mentality, loser fan base. I don't think Arsenal have regressed this season. And I'm going to explain why. But before I explain why, let me first tell you guys what my expectations were from Arsenal this season. My expectations from Arsenal, not just this season, over the last few years, has always been progression. Progression until we start not just winning the league and Champions League, but winning the Champions League, and also competing for them year in, year out. And the reality is, I think so far this season, while I'm not going to say we've regressed, because I don't think we have regressed, and I'll explain why in a bit, why we haven't regressed, but we definitely haven't improved. That is clear as day, in my opinion, at least. Right? I think if you compare us now to last season, we've stagnated. And for me, if this continues till the end of the season, I definitely want Arteta out, because he doesn't have any credit in the bank for me. So if he's not progressing us year on year, he needs to go. Right? And get a manager who can get us over the line. But for people to be saying that, so I'm going to be tackling two claims in this video. One is, have Arsenal regressed this season and are they worse than last year? And two, are Arsenal relying on set pieces? So the first one, which is Arsenal regressing, the reason I don't think Arsenal have regressed this season is it's very simple. I think all of us, as Arsenal fans especially, but even rivals who expected Arsenal to go and do big things this season, I think the biggest thing that's being stuck in our head right now is we are 6 points behind with a game in hand for Liverpool, so they could make it 9. We are way behind where we should be. We've dropped points in games that we were not expected to drop points in, or we shouldn't have dropped points in. And we haven't looked that scary Arsenal that some people predicted us to be this season, right? And I think because of that, a lot of people have gone into the extremes of saying, "Oh my God, you're looking worse this year. You're regressing this year." The reason I don't think we have regressed, very simply, is because if you compare our results this season and the teams we've played, they're very similar to last season, if not better in some instances. Right? There's only one game, if you look at last season, there's only one game this year we've played where our result was worse than last year. Right? Outside the red cards. Now, that's a very important caveat, and I'm going to explain why. If someone says Arsenal have regressed this season because your discipline has been bad, okay, fair enough. I can hear it. There's no arguments there. Because we've got 3 red cards this season, and all the 3 red cards have cost us this year. All the 3 red cards. Brighton, we were winning 1-0, red card, we draw. City, we were winning 2-1 at the Etihad, red card. They freaking we parked the bus in the second half and they scored in the last minute. I think it's fair to say, had we had 11 men, there's a good chance we could have won that game. And Bournemouth, we get an early red card, and they only score towards the end of the game after Martinelli missed a sitter, a one-on-one that could have put us 1-0. And I think if we went 1-0 up at the time, we would have parked the bus and probably got a draw. Probably got a win, sorry. So the red cards we got this season so far have all affected us, unfortunately. So if anyone says you've regressed because the discipline has gotten worse, which has cost you games, you know what? I hear it. Because last season we got a red card against Crystal Palace early in the season, which did affect us because we were winning 1-0 at the time. Tomiyasu, I think, came off the bench, got a red card, got 2 yellow cards, got sent off, but we just saw the game and we ended up winning 1-0. And then there was another game, I think, where we got a red card. I don't remember if it was Sheffield or Luton. I can't remember. Fabio Vieira got a red card and we ended up winning the game anyways. That was, I think, towards the middle of the season or towards the end of the season. So the discipline part, I hear. But outside those red card matches, so if you take away those 3 games, where in my opinion, we only drop points because of the red cards in those games, if you take away those matches, if you look at all the other games and all the other like circumstances, we haven't been worse than last year. Now, for me personally, that's not good enough because I wanted us to improve on last year. We did 89 points last year. I was expecting us to do more than 90 points this year. And maybe that would have not been enough to win the league anyways. Right? So for me, that's failure regardless. Stagnation is also failure. But it's still stagnation. We still need to call a spade a spade. It's not regression. Right? And if you want evidence of that, you can just go at the fixtures and look at it. Arsenal versus Wolves. This season, we won 2-0. Last season, we won 2-1. Arsenal versus Aston Villa. I'm just looking at the fixtures in front of me. Arsenal versus Aston Villa at the Villa Park. We won this season. Last year, we lost. Arsenal Tottenham. We won last season at their ground. We won this season as well by 1 goal. Man City. Okay, forget. Sorry, I'm excluding the red card games. You've got Arsenal, Leicester City, promoted teams. So if you compare our results with the promoted teams last year, we won all of them. This year, so far, we've played 2, we've won both. Right? Same Arsenal, Southampton, promoted team, we've beat them, just like last year. The next game, Arsenal, Liverpool, the one game I've mentioned where we have regressed. And I'm not trying to give an excuse there because I was very disappointed with the way we played the second half. But I believe if Gabriel and Timber were not injured, did not get injured in that game, I don't think Liverpool scored a second goal. And I think we go on to win that game 2-1. But in the end, it doesn't matter because, you know what? We messed up. We should have done better. But even if you take that game into account, we're already better off with Aston Villa. We're already 3 points better off there. So even if you minus those 2 points against Liverpool, we're still 1 point better off against the other opposition we've played. You want to continue? Newcastle, Arsenal. We lost last season. We lost this season. 1-0 in both games. Chelsea, Arsenal. We drew last season. We drew this season. And I would argue this season we were better. The funny thing is this season, Chelsea are better. And we looked better as well than what we did last season against them. Because last season, for the first 75 minutes, we were non-existent. It was Robert Sanchez that gave us a breathing room. This season, in my opinion, that game we were the better team. And had Trossard finished that chance in stoppage time, we would have won that game. Any other day, he finishes that chance. Arsenal, Nottingham Forest. Last season, we struggled and we won there 2-1. And it was the opening game of the season. This season, we slapped them up 3-0. And I can argue this season, they're better so far than what they were last season. West Ham, Arsenal, we slapped them up 6-0 last season. Fair enough, not the same slapping, but we still beat them this season 5-2. Right? Arsenal United, 2-0 this season, last season 3-1. People will say, you relied on corners to beat them. Does anyone remember our game from last season? We were horrendous. And our winning goal came at stoppage time. And that was a few minutes after Garnacho's goal was ruled off for offside. For a narrow offside. It was offside, fair enough. But my point is we struggled last season as well at the Emirates. And that was with Eric Ten Hag, who, let's be honest, we all saw how United went that season. Like, we all saw how bad they were that season. At least this season, you can at least say that they were undefeated so far since they sacked Ten Hag. You know, they had the new manager bounce or whatever it is. Point is, it's the same result. And then we come to the last game, Fulham. We lost there last season at Craven Cottage. This season we got a draw. So actually, if you go by points, we're better off this season than last season. We're 2 points better off if you exclude the 3 games where we got red cards. And the only reason I'm excluding those games, by the way, even with those 3 games, only Brighton and Bournemouth are the different results. City is the same result anyways, because we drew there last season anyways at the Etihad. The reason I'm excluding those 3 red cards, again, before people get triggered and say they're part of the game, you messed up. I think we messed up against Bournemouth and City, by the way. I think we definitely deserved red cards there. I still think the Declan Rice one was harsh because the ball was thrown at his leg. He just touches it out. And the referee goes and gives him a second yellow when many other players have done worse this season in terms of kicking the ball and they haven't received a yellow card. And that was the first time. The Trossard one, 100% think is a red card because you've seen what happened to Declan Rice a couple of weeks ago, which was harsh in my opinion. You go and do something even more stupid, which is boot the ball away. So 100% I think that was stupid from Trossard. And then the Saliba one was even more idiotic when he brought down Ivan Ilson. But again, I'm excluding those games to say, outside the discipline issue, which I don't think is a factor that will continue all season. I think that's something, especially given that our sending offs, like 2 of our 3 red cards were because we kicked the ball away, not because it was a bad tackle or we were rash in our defending or something like that. Right? Which is why I don't think it's something that we have to worry about continuing all season. Now, if someone else says, I think you've regressed this season because of your discipline and I think it will continue, fair enough. That's a whole different topic. I disagree, but I understand if that's your point. So outside those 3 games, if you look at our results, because these are facts are facts. You can't argue with facts. We haven't been worse. We've been the same, which for me is a problem. Because I don't think we should have been the same. I think we should have improved by now. I think this season, when I look at, if you came and told me before the start of the season, what are your expectations up until game week 15? I would have said beat Villa. I would have said beat Wolves. I would have said draw against City, which fair enough, we got even with the red card. I would have said beat Brighton and Bournemouth, right? I would have said beat Liverpool 100% at the Emirates. I would have said beat Chelsea at the Bridge. I would have said at least draw against Newcastle because St. James Park, I get it. It can be a difficult ground for teams to go to. I would have also said beat Fulham. So I'm definitely upset and annoyed that we haven't improved on what we did last season in these fixtures, even if you exclude the red cards. But I'm just saying, let's call a spade a spade. We don't need to go to extreme, like these exaggerations or these hyperbolic statements where we say Arsenal look worse this season. Which brings me to my second point that I wanted to address, which is the set pieces. Arsenal are relying more on corners, more on set pieces. And the funny thing about that is, last season at this stage, 50% of our goals, by the way, were from set pieces. 50%. Or close to 50%. I think at some point it was like 49 point something. But the point is, it was almost 50% by the first half of the season where our goals came from set pieces. Which is mental to think about. This season, it's around like 35, 36%. It was 33% before the Fulham game. I'm assuming it'll probably have gone up a bit higher now because we scored a corner against Fulham. So that's maybe like 35, 36%, something like that. Who knows? 35, 36% of our goals this season have come from set pieces compared to last season, which was around 50% at this stage. Which is why I'm extremely baffled why people are saying you're relying on set pieces. It's not sustainable. Bruh, this has become a bigger conversation this year than last year. Why? How come it wasn't a bigger fuss last year when actually we were reliant on set pieces? This year, we're less reliant on set pieces. And at this stage, by the way, before people say like, but you're still relying on set pieces and it's bailing you out in some games, blah, blah, blah. I had this argument on Judge Mo's channel where I said that because he was like, you guys are not creating enough chances, blah, blah, blah. I was telling him, this season, if you look at the Premier League website, if you look at PremierLeague.com, Arsenal are currently ranked number 1 in the Premier League for big chances created. And then Mo tried to rebuttal by saying, Mo in the chat, not just Mo in the chat tried to rebuttal and saying, no, it's not updated. Go check SofaScore, blah, blah. Stop it, please. I'm not going to check any website outside the PremierLeague.com. This not updated thing is absolute nonsense because I check it every week and the numbers change every week, which means it is updated. It's just that the Premier League doesn't consider certain things big chances that SofaScore considers, right? And by the way, anything you want to, if you want to look at stats about the Premier League, there's no bigger source of truth than the Premier League website, in my opinion, at least. One example of this is you look at SofaScore, for example, and in SofaScore it says they have like average performances, which I want to show you. I want to show you guys actually, which is this. I saw this yesterday. I found it hilarious, right? So I'm gonna share my screen, and I hope you guys can see this. Check this out. This is SofaScore, right? I'm gonna zoom in. And they have their own average SofaScore rating. They've got Man City in top place. Man City, who have been abysmal this season. And you want me to take SofaScore to see like, oh, what are the big chances created and take them as the ultimate source of truth? When the reality is the Premier League website tells me that Arsenal have created more big chances than any other team in the Premier League this season. That's it. Here, I'm going to share this right here. Check this out. I showed this to Mo, and this was yesterday. And you're telling me from yesterday to today it's not updated. It is updated. These get updated all the time. We were at like 39 or 40 last week before we played Fulham. And then we created like 4 big chances, and now it's come up to 43. The reason I'm saying this, the reason I'm showing this right now, is to explain that we have created the most big chances in the Premier League this season. And before people come and say, yeah, but majority of them are from corners, majority of them from set pieces. Last season, by this stage, when 50% of our goals were coming from set pieces, we were ranked like we were barely in the top 10 for big chances created at this stage of the season. At least definitely after the first 12 games or so, I remember we were like 14th or 13th or 12th or something like that. So if the reality is, oh, it's because of corners and set pieces, why weren't we first by this stage of the season last year in big chances created? Why weren't we first then? When last season we were more dependent on set pieces and we scored more goals by this stage. So I don't think we are relying on set pieces. I think, yes, we're very strong at it. We're probably the best team in Europe, or at least the best team in the top 5 leagues in when it comes to set pieces. Fair enough. I 100% hear that part. But I don't think we're relying on it per se. I think we are also scoring goals from open play. We are also creating chances from open play, some chances that we're missing, unfortunately. And we need to definitely improve. But when you look at our overall performances this season, you compare the fixture list we've had in terms of the away fixtures, the difficulty of some of the away fixtures we've had. And when you consider our results this season versus last season, you cannot say that A, we rely on set pieces as much when the data doesn't back it up, at least compared to last season. And B, that Arsenal have regressed. We haven't regressed. We just haven't improved, which unfortunately not improving is enough for us to not win the league. And that is where I'll hold Arteta accountable. So I'm still holding him accountable. I'm still saying we've had a bad season. I'm still saying we've had 4 or 5 games where we were poor this season. But it doesn't mean we were worse off than last season. That's the only thing I wanted to clear. But yeah, look, I'm just going to end it with this. I think, can we catch up to Liverpool? Of course we can. It's 6 points right now. Obviously 9 if they win their game in hand, which is not an easy game. Look, Everton away, I know Everton away usually is easy for most teams, but for Liverpool, it tends to be difficult. They've only won there once in the last 7 seasons. But let's assume they do win it. Like, can we claw back 9 points? We can, but I personally don't think we will do it. I think we would have left it late. Even if we go on a very good run and we finish with like, I don't know, 87, 88 points, which is regression from last season. But given the context of how this season has gone so far, if I tell anyone that Arsenal are going to finish on 87, 88 points by the end of the season, they'll laugh at me. And they'll be like, what the hell are you on about? And even if that happens, I still feel it won't be enough, because the way Liverpool are going right now, their trajectory is taking them towards like 90 plus points. And that's what's pissing me off, because I genuinely believe that this season we're going to finish with more than 90 points. I thought we will improve on our results last season. And so far this season, we haven't done that. Yeah, we're 1 point better off if you exclude the red cards, but that's not enough. That's definitely not enough. And the reality is, unfortunately, you do have to take the red cards into account, which means we are uh, 3 points worse off than last season so far in the equivalent fixtures. We're 3 points worse off compared to the versus the same teams. Can we make it up? Of course we can, but we have to go on a similar run to what we did last season, which I think we have it in us to do it. But I just unfortunately don't think it will be good enough. I think even if we end on 87, 88 points, it'll not win us the league, in my opinion, unless Liverpool have a monumental crash, which the way they're playing so far doesn't look like they're going to do it. They've got 6 out of 6 wins in the Champions League, 12 out of 15 wins in the Premier League, and the other 3 were like 2 draws and 1 defeat. And the 2 draws are good results, like away against Newcastle and away against Arsenal. They're not bad results. And then the 1 defeat was obviously a shocking defeat at home to Forest. So I don't know. I think they will finish at 90 plus points. And if they do finish at 90 plus points, even if we have an amazing run from here till the end of the season, I don't think it'll be enough to get us to 90 plus points, which for me would spell the end of Arteta, at least from my personal opinion. I know they won't sack him, to be honest, but for me personally as a fan, I would definitely know one. Like, if by the end of the season we don't progress and they keep Arteta, I promise you this, for me personally next season, I'm going to have zero expectations. I'm going to say, I don't think we're going to win shit this season. I'm just going to watch the Arsenal games, hoping we win every game. And I'm going to take each game in the context of that game, and that's it. I'm not going to say, we need to win this game so that we can win the league. Nah, because I don't think we will win the league with our. If he doesn't progress this season, I don't think he will win it next season either. Because I just think that means he's not good enough. The reason why I've been backing him so far is because he's been showing progress year after year after year, which is why I said, as long as he's progressing at this rate, eventually I think he will win it. And this is the season where I thought he would win it. This is the first time in God knows how long that I've thought, and probably since I supported Arsenal, since I started supporting Arsenal in 2006, this is the first time I've gone into a season thinking, I think we will win the league this season. I've never thought that before. So if he doesn't do it this season, then yeah, for me, he has to go. And if he doesn't go, then next season for me is pointless. I'm gonna watch it. I'm still gonna back my team. I'm still gonna support my team. I'm still gonna watch every game and wish we win it. And cheer when, and obviously celebrate the wins. But it's gonna be all meaningless for me, because I know that no matter what game, how many games we win next season, we're not gonna win the league. And when we lose, I'm pretty sure I'll be way less upset, because I'll be upset in the context of that game, but I won't be upset in the context of, oh my God, this is going to affect our season. We're going to fall behind and we're not going to win the league. It's never going to come to my head, because after the season, if he doesn't progress us, I'm not going to believe that Arteta can win us anything major next season. Major meaning the league or the Champions League, obviously. And that for me is failure in itself. That's it. That's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please don't forget to share and like this video. And obviously subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And see you guys next time. Big up.